All right, political analyst Professor David Monyae joins us now for more. Prof, a very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to the late edition. Professor Monyae, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Let's talk about this symbolic and significant agreement. Could it be an economic decision, or is it a strategic move or strategic symbolic defiance of Western pressure?
It's all of the above. I think when we look at it, this move is of strategic importance, not just to India and Russia, but to global South and all developing countries. I think this comes at the backdrop of the tension between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. And we see India really taking an independent, what we call the strategic autonomy, showing Washington that it is independent as a member of BRICS and within Global South, that it will strengthen relations with all countries, including Russia. But there are also economic as well as defense business. At the economic level, India is benefiting hugely on the cheap oil from Russia, as well as depending on Russia defense weapons greatly. And on the other hand, Russia also wants to break the isolation from the West, as well as to also have a foothold within the Indo-Pacific, where India has a much more greater role to play.
Does this target represent a long-term structural shift in India's economic alignment?
Oh, indeed. I think this is a continuity. We thought that India and President Modi was moving more towards the Western world, joining certain alliance in the West, mainly against China. But at the same time, India is also a member of BRICS and within Global South, and a very close strategic partner of South Africa and the African continent. So I think what is happening with this visit, it demonstrates not only to South Africa, but to most countries in the Global South, that they can strike deals and they can have relationship with any country, even Western as well as Eastern countries, and in this case, play a critical role on most geopolitical issues, such as the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Now, Prof, just how realistic is 100 billion US dollars? I mean, given sanctions, given the payment systems, given the logistical barriers?
Oh, this is also huge in the sense that the relationship India and Russia has a long history, particularly on weapons. And since the war in Ukraine, I think India has been playing a critical role, buying most of the cheap oil, benefiting from it, and redirect it to Western countries. And I think India wants to continue doing so. But there are other dimensions to this relationship, that it is breaking the mighty hegemonic dollar. So the de-dollarization process, something that is being advanced within BRICS, which is also a lesson for South Africa and other emerging markets, that at this stage in point within global politics, there is a need to diversify and hedge your relationship, particularly for South Africa, at a time when the United States is being so hard and South Africa has been bending backwards, trying to reach out to Washington. I think this is the high time for Pretoria to really reach out much more strongly to other countries while pursuing relationship with the West.
And having said that, Prof, I mean, we've just heard President Donald Trump accusing India of fueling Russia's war economy. What is the strategic intent of this language?
I think the main aim is to isolate India and try to control. And the typical President Donald Trump in Washington at this stage under President Trump, a bullying tactic that we've been seeing used in so many countries, whether it's in Venezuela, whether here in South Africa, interfering in domestic affairs and dictate what these countries should do. But if you look at it quite closely, you have to understand that United States is no longer the United States of yesterday. Its power in so many areas is declining and is declining fast. And there are other emerging world. We're moving from a unipolar to a multipolar system in which countries will not depend on Western countries. I think they will hedge their relationship, bringing more relationship with countries such as China, Russia, something that India is doing quite well to its own benefits. You increase issue of employment, you deal with the issues of limiting should Western world sanction India. It will now having this digital currency and exchange with Russia, at the same time reaching out to China and other countries. It's a smart thing to do.
All right, Prof, great chatting to you, and we certainly wait to see just how vulnerable India will be to U.S. political and economic, sanctions should it continue to deepen its ties with Russia. But great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us.
Thank you.
All right, that was political analyst Professor David Monyae helping us make sense on that groundbreaking deal between Russia and India reaching bilateral trade to $100 billion US.